What's good? This is JVB representing SPD, and that is sportsperdiem.com. Right now, and yes, things can change over time, but right now, I got to give the Chicago Bulls organization their props. They got rid of John Paxson. They got rid of Garth Foreman. They bring in Arturas Karnisovas as the new VP of the organization. He then hires Mark Eversley as the new general manager. And now the Chicago Bulls have a new head coach. His name is Billy Donovan. We all know the news. We all should be excited about this news. Because let's be real, we haven't seen a real NBA head coach here over the last few years. Yes, you can talk all the crap you want to about Tom Thibodeau. The last couple of years wasn't so good. He was going out there playing the shit out of those players. And then, of course, there was the tension between Thibodeau and Gar Pax that led to his exit from Chicago. But say what you want to say about Tom Thibodeau, he was the last good head coach here for the Chicago Bulls. Gar Foreman wanted to bring in his own guy. He brought in Fred Hoiberg. We saw how that went. And then after they fired Fred Hoiberg because he wasn't no good, they promote Jim Boylen to be the head coach of the team. Jim Boylen, just like Fred Hoiberg, worse than Fred Hoiberg. He proved he wasn't a good head coach. He was trash. He was garbage. Whatever negative adjective you want to use to describe Jim Boylen as a head coach, go ahead, fire away. You know, he was a bad head coach. But then Arturas Karnisovas finally gets rid of that last piece. He finally fires Jim Boylen, gets that last taste out of our mouths, and he brings Billy Donovan here to Chicago on a 4-year, $24 million contract. Talk about money well spent. Of course, if you watch basketball, college or NBA, you know who Billy Donovan is. He coached 2-time back-to-back national champions down at the University of Florida. That team was led by future NBA players, you know, one of them being Joakim Noah. Of course, he was drafted by the Bulls coming out of Florida, and he ended up having a really good career with the Chicago Bulls. He was a part of those Tom Thibodeau playoff teams. He was a multiple-time NBA All-Star, and he also was awarded the NBA Defensive Player of the Year award with the Chicago Bulls. But that team was led by Joakim Noah, Al Horford, Corey Brewer, you know, just to name a few. But Billy Donovan was a great college coach, and he wanted to try his hand finally in the NBA. If I remember, I believe he agreed to sign with the Orlando Magic as their new head coach, but then he reneged on that deal and he went to OKC, which was the smart move because you start off with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. You know, you can't really ask for more as a new NBA head coach. And he had a really good run as OKC's head coach. Of course, they were that close from making it to the NBA Finals, eliminating that 73-9 Golden State team in 2016, but Golden State comes all the way back from 3-1, eliminate OKC, and the rest is history. Of course, Kevin Durant will leave OKC, go to Golden State. You know, a lot of people didn't like that move, you know, but it is what it is. You know, he was a free agent. He can go wherever he wanted. He chose Golden State. You know, it was probably, you know, the weak move, but he did what he wanted to do. He won a championship out of it. You know, congratulations to him. So Russell Westbrook is the last guy left. You know, KD leaves. You know, of course, they traded James Harden years before. They let Serge Ibaka go. So Russell Westbrook was the only guy left, and he was doing all the work. The man was averaging a triple-double a season. You know, it was crazy, but OKC wasn't going anywhere in the playoffs. They ended up trading for Paul George, but, you know, still no playoff success. So basically, this last offseason, the Oklahoma City front office said, hey, let's clean house. They traded away Paul George to the LA Clippers, and they also traded away Russell Westbrook, who was one of the faces of the franchise for the last 10 plus years. They traded him away to the Houston Rockets. They ended up getting Chris Paul in that Russell Westbrook trade. But a lot of people thought, you know, including myself, I thought Chris Paul, he got traded from Houston to OKC. It's him and a whole bunch of young guys. This is a rebuild, you know. He cannot be a part of this rebuild. He got to be getting traded, right? Now, there was some talk about Chris Paul getting traded, but nothing materialized. So now for Billy Donovan, he got to put in some real work now. He comes to the NBA and he has Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. KD leaves, but he still has Russell Westbrook. Then there's Russell Westbrook and Paul George. But then that doesn't work out. So now they starting from scratch. All they really have now is Chris Paul and a bunch of young guys. At the beginning of the season, nobody, and I mean nobody, believed that Oklahoma City was gonna do anything. Nobody believed that Oklahoma City, the Thunder, were going to make the playoffs. But you know what Billy Donovan did? And you got to give some credit to Chris Paul too, because he's basically a player coach. These guys went out there in every game. They believed they were going to win. Whether they won, whether they lost. The main thing that they were going to do every night was compete. That's what Billy Donovan instilled in those players. Guys like Steven Adams. Guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who they received in that Paul George trade. He balled out this season. You know Doc Rivers didn't want to get rid of him, but he had to get Paul George. But Gilgeous-Alexander balled out, and so did Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder was one of the best 6 men in the NBA this year. But Billy Donovan did a hell of a job coaching these guys, and they were the number 5 seed in the Western Conference. The number 5 seed. They didn't barely make it as the number 8 or the number 7. They were the number 5 seed in the Western Conference. They played the Houston Rockets in the first round of the playoffs, and they barely lost a 7-game series. Like literally it was going down the wire in game 7 against the Houston Rockets, a team with James Harden and Russell Westbrook. They barely defeated the OKC Thunder in 7 games. If that's not a testament to how good of a coach Billy Donovan is, I don't know what is. Now fast forward after game 7, I look at my phone and I see that Billy Donovan and the Oklahoma City Thunder have parted ways. Billy Donovan is no longer the Oklahoma City Thunder's head coach. Immediately, I thought, Chicago Bulls, Arturas Karnisovas, call this man. If he decided he wants to go elsewhere, you know, the 76ers, the Houston Rockets, maybe he want to coach Zion Williamson in New Orleans. But if he decides to go elsewhere after you made your pitch, okay, you know, you tried at least. All you can do is shoot your shot, right? But not only did Arturas Karnisovas, Mark Eversley, and this Chicago Bulls organization shoot their shot, they made the motherfucking shot. And they brought in Billy Donovan. And I am so happy because this is a great start, man. Who knows what's going to happen over the next 4 years? All I know is that right now, the Bulls are in much better shape than they were last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Keep going. They have a new VP. They have a new GM, and now they have a head coach. All they got to do is fill out Billy Donovan's coaching staff and see which players are worth keeping on this team. Speaking of the players, you know, Billy Donovan spoke highly of a lot of the young guys. He spoke highly of Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine, Kobe White, Wendell Carter Jr., you know. He spoke highly of those guys. I'm not sure if any of those guys are going to be traded. I honestly believe now none of them will be traded, because you want to see now if Billy Donovan can bring out all that potential out of all those guys. I've said it before and I'll say it twice again. I'll say it 3 times again. We don't know how good any of these guys are. These guys can just be average. These guys can just be above average. These guys may be bad at the end of the day, but we need to see if they can properly develop. And Billy Donovan is a great coach to help see that. I know some guys may want Chris Paul to come here to follow Billy Donovan to be a part of another young team with the Chicago Bulls, but I'm not too sure about that because Chris Paul is owed about 80-something million over the next 2 years. He is getting like $41 million next season alone. If this was $41 million over the next 2 years, I'd be like, all right, cool. But this is $41 million and $44 million. I don't know which one is which one comes first, but that's a lot of money either way for Chris Paul. I'm not sure if you want to tie all those eggs, and it's only 2 years, but I'm not sure if you want to do that. You want to limit yourself financially where they may be an option younger and better in the long run. So I don't know if you want to go out and make a trade for Chris Paul. Talking about old players, now I mentioned him earlier, but I can really see a possibility where Joakim Noah is one of the assistant coaches for Billy Donovan. It's clear as day. And I love Joakim Noah. I love his passion for this team. I love his leadership for this team. But it's clear as day that Joakim Noah, best days are far behind him. I'm not sure if he wants to be a coach, but the allure of having your college coach, Billy Donovan, coach the team, the NBA team that you were not only drafted by, but you had the most success with, the Chicago Bulls. You've done so much in the community. You love this city. I'm quite sure that Joakim Noah could be enticed to be one of Billy Donovan's assistant coaches. It'll be a similar situation as the San Antonio Spurs right now, where Tim Duncan is an assistant coach to Greg Popovich. I like it, man. I think Joakim Noah should really consider it. I think Billy Donovan should consider it. He probably considering it already. You know, we never know, but I like that move though. But all in all, man, I can't complain about this move. I love this move. But I'm so happy that this organization, and Billy Donovan touched on it in the press conference, but the thought of resurrecting such an iconic franchise. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Phil Jackson, to bring that allure back, to bring this franchise back from the dead, you know, it's a tough task. It's not going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be successful. But to finally bring in some new blood with Arturas Karnisovas, Mark Eversley, now Billy Donovan, wanting to build this franchise up again. I love it. And I hope they can bring in the right players to see who fits on this team, see who's going to help lead this franchise back to the promised land. But hopefully everything goes well and they can bring back a winner. But I'm out. Like the video and share the video. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, take it easy. God bless. Peace.